Week 13 of the 2025 NFL season is here. Thanksgiving is here, which means that we're thankful for this guaranteed lock. This is your only place to get your 16-leg, low-stakes, high-reward Moneyline parlay. This is the Sunday Script. All right, everyone, welcome back. Week 13 of the Sunday Script. Happy Scriptgiving to everyone out there. I know that we're thankful for a lot, right? Thankful for football, of course. Thankful for our Scripties, really, right? Thankful for our sponsors. And as you know, you sit around the Thanksgiving table, and maybe some people do this exercise with their family, right? What are you thankful for? What are you thankful for? Right? And you're thinking through your mind, I know exactly what I'm thankful for this Thanksgiving. This guaranteed fucking lock that the Sunday Script is about to provide you. Okay?
Yeah.
So, skip the politics. Skip the politics in general this year, of course, right? But just know that this is also a time for you to get with your family and also talk about the Sunday Script with your family as well. So we would appreciate if you did that.
Spread
too.
the good word.
Spread the good word of the football season. And this is prime football season right now, right?
Best time of the year.
Yeah, it is the best time of the year. We have some Thanksgiving games, some Friday night game, a Friday game, actually.
Yeah.
And then a full slate this week. No buys this week. And with that, we don't have a Thursday night rinse, but we will get into it with the new fashioned Thanksgiving Day rinse. 3 games on the slate for Thanksgiving. It'll be a full day of tummies and football. We got the Packers going into Detroit to play the infamous football game in Detroit on Thanksgiving, a tradition that goes back decades, right? Schedule makers doing the Packers really no favors here, having 2 Thursday night rinses. Not Thursday night rinse, right? But Thursday games this year, right? They played Washington earlier in the year, and now they get to go to Detroit.
Yeah.
But that places them on the Thanksgiving noon game in Detroit, and that's going to be a hostile environment for sure. The Lions are coming off almost rinsing to Jameis and the Giants, right? But that took a lot of creativity from the Giants to really, keep them in that game, right? And we'll talk about
immaculate play by Jameis.
We'll talk about Jameis. We'll talk about Jameis later. But Lions' offensive line is nowhere as good as it was last year. That interior is really struggling without Frank Ragnow, and of course, the interior is also struggling without Ben.
Yeah.
Right. The ongoing conversation with the Lions is, do they really miss Ben? But you know who they don't miss because they have him is Jahmyr Gibbs. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs is an absolute beast, taking that touchdown to the house right away on the first play of overtime, right? Kind of solidifying that win for them, even though it shouldn't have been that close. However, moving to the Packers side of things, the Packers got to take a bite out of the J.J. McCarthy pie.
Yes,
because that's what this is turning into at this point with J.J., and we'll talk about him a little bit later in the show here. Their defense, the Packers' defense is fucking elite, man. I mean, like we said, they were going to turn JJ over a couple times, which they did, right? So we had that script for sure. The issue is, though, the offense, of course, still 139 yards, no touchdowns from Jay Love. Is he nursing that shoulder injury still? It seems like he probably is. He was handing off with his other hand the whole game, right? And the revelation of the game was really Eric Wilson, right? Missing Josh Jacobs for the week, that week. I don't know if he's going to play this week, but Eric Wilson really stepped up. But that brings, the question for me, does Midget LaFleur trust his second string running back more than his $200 million quarterback to run the ball more than Jordan Love threw it? That's really the conversation, I think. The offense is the conversation with the Packers, right? However, the Lions are in shambles. They are. Once you change play callers, that's really the sign that your season is over. It really is. There's never anything good that comes out of that. The Lions' offensive line, like I said, really struggles. Their defense is hurt again. And we're going to take the Packers on this noon Turkey Day game to kind of knock the Lions out of this division and leave it up to the Bears and Packers to decide the NFC North fate going forward here.
Yep. They're giving Lions -2.5. Home favorite, divisional split. I get it. Place is definitely going to be rowdy on Thanksgiving, I think, because that's before all the turkey comes.
I've been to one of those, and they're pretty rowdy. And shout out to Mitch Trubisky for winning that game.
Yeah, shout out Mitch. Money Mitch, we love you.
Yeah.
So that play's going to be bussin'. They already dropped one week 1 to the Packers. They're really going to be looking to get this one back. but the Packers defense is so good. Micah is looking like he's worth all the money. He's, they're talking about him and Reggie White now. I'd pump the brakes a little bit there.
Yeah.
There's a guy named Myles Garrett in the league. But Micah's worth all the money. He was getting after it against the Vikings. And like Tim was saying, the Lions offensive line is dwindling from its former glory. So Micah might get some nice plays to Jared Goff, who got popped a couple times last week by the Giants.
Yeah. Goof might struggle.
So he might struggle because he was feeling it. So he might be coming into this game hurt too. Short week. They played into overtime, played a lot more football than the Packers did. So beside that, Packers really just got to watch out for not David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs. I think David Montgomery's getting phased out a little bit. Jahmyr Gibbs is just that good. They just need to keep him on the field. He really put that game away for the Lions last week, but we're locking in the Packers. And with that, a team that's really turned it around, and another team playing after the Lions that always plays on Thanksgiving, America's team. They're not my team, but they are America's team. The Dallas Cowgirls are taking on the Kansas City Chiefs at home. This is really turning into a real must-win for both of these teams. Both these teams are on the edge of playoff contention now. The Dallas Cowboys have really found a way to put it together after getting beat up at the beginning of the season. And that comeback win against Philadelphia, everyone saw it. I don't need to, talk more about it ad nauseum. But that just really shows that the Cowboys have some mettle. Their defense has gotten a lot better. Now, we've been saying the Eagles' offense isn't what it used to be. But we just, with how Georgie Porgy's playing, he's making CeeDee Lamb look like a WR2. Dak is still slinging the rock, and the Chiefs have a good defense. But I think their offense is dwindling, and the Cowboys are going to be able to score more points on their traditional day, Thanksgiving, at home in Jerry's world.
Yeah, this is really a playoff game for both of these teams, right? So we're getting a little playoff game on Thanksgiving, which we're always thankful for. Cowboys come back from that 21-0 deficit against the Eagles, who absolutely rinsed, and we'll get. We'll talk about the Eagles here in a little bit, but, Dak is really the leader that team needs. Jarrett has never swayed. Dak has always been his guy. And we've been high on Dak so far this year. We haven't been down on Dak. Maybe at the beginning of the year, right? But they've really come back. Those trades have really helped them out a lot. And George Pickens might be the number one on this team now.
Definitely.
Going forward. And it's going to be really interesting to see who pays him next season because he will be a free agent. Because the Cowboys cannot pay him.
No, they're not going to be able to pay him.
They're not going to be able to pay him.
$30 million, right?
So part of that was maybe why they offloaded Micah, right? Maybe why Jarrett unloaded Michael. But, Mahomes, on the Chiefs side of things, Mahomes also leads a fourth quarter comeback. So two teams coming off a fourth quarter comeback. Worthy and, car crash enthusiast Rashee Rice seemed to just run the same crossing route the whole fourth quarter, and the Colts just couldn't seem to stop it. It was the same play over and over again. And we'll talk about the Colts later, too. However, we still aren't sold on the Chiefs yet, which is crazy to say, right? It might sound fucking nuts for saying that, but I'm more confident in Dallas at home on Thanksgiving, coming off a 21-0 deficit against their division rival. So we're going to rock with Jur's team, America's team, on America's Day this week on the Sunday Scripts. That's going to move us into the night game on Thanksgiving. Bengals going into Baltimore. Ravens are -7. Another divisional matchup on this slate. The biggest story here is, of course, the return of Joe Burr.
Yeah,
right. That's the biggest. That's the biggest conversation going forward and week 2 and returning. Maybe they make a run at the division. Probably not. Probably too far in the hole to do that. And Jamar Chase is coming back after his spitting episode with Jalen Ramsey. But, Tomorice was also carted off, leaving his status up in the air, right? So Tomorice.
Concussion.
Yeah.
Concussion.
Yeah, Tomorice, we don't know if he's going to play this week. Bringing Jamar back helps, but really you need Tomorice and Jamar on the field at the same time to really provide that firepower that the Bengals have. And Lamar's coming off beating, Tyrod and the Jets, even though the score might not seem that way. You want to look at the box score, go ahead, but the Jets were in that game for some time, and then Breece Hall rinses at the goal line also. And every game is important for the Ravens going forward, who are now first in the AFC North after the Steelers lost to the Bears, and then they beat the Jets. So they are tied for that spot. However, they have the tiebreaker over the Steelers, and Lamar has been playing great. He's clearly still hurt. which I'm surprised he's still not faking it. But I guess kudos to Lamar. He could have just, thrown in the towel and said, I'll sit the rest of the year. But yeah. I guess he proved us wrong. So maybe he wasn't faking it, but he probably was. But we're gonna rock with the flock here. We're gonna take the Ravens at home to beat I wouldn't say rusty Joe Burrow, but he hasn't played football in some time, so we'll see how it goes. But we'll take the Ravens here.
Yeah, and this is actually now 2 games in. This is now your good old-fashioned Thursday night.
Yeah, this is a Thursday night rinse with the Amazon crew as well.
Thanksgiving Thursday, the TTNR Thanksgiving Thursday night rinse. Mm-hmm. Ravens are back on top of their division. Vegas had them favored for a reason, dude. They got this cakewalk coming up. Bengals maybe not as cakewalky anymore, as Tim was saying. Joe Burrow's coming back along with Jamar Chase, but with T. Higgins out with a concussion, he's guaranteed not going to play. Are Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase even going to try? That's what I want to know. They're 3-8. They got 2 teams ahead of them in their division. Joe Burrow's going to be rusty. I don't see their coach putting them into a lot of dangerous positions and take any risks really to win this game. So we're going to lock in the Ravens. Even though Lamar hasn't been playing up to speed per se, he's still good. He's still winning games, and they're a lot better off with him than they were before. Yeah. So they're 6-5 now. We're going to lock them in.
But one note with the AFC North, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bengals surpass the Steelers in that division. I think the Steelers are on a real downfall right now.
Well, with Aaron out, who knows how long he's going to be out.
Who knows how long he's going to be out.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that later, so go ahead.
Yeah. And with that, we are going to get into our Black Friday rinse. The Bears at Eagles. Don't go out shopping this Black Friday and trample people at Walmart.
Nobody does it.
Go
it's a
have a nice peaceful evening watching the Bears. They're taking on the Eagles at home. Eagles are in Philadelphia, -7 points, and the Eagles are struggling on offense is the story of the week. They scored 21 points against the Cowboys, but the Cowboys made some adjustments, shut them down, and tore up their defense, which is definitely their best unit. So that was a bit surprising. However, we think the Cowboys have a pretty high-powered offense this stage in the season. The Bears are coming off another win, though, so maybe it's time to start talking about them being legit. Soon. They beat the Eagles, maybe they're legit. Another backup QB, but it was a good game. They had a lot going against them. Were able to fend off the victory. Big defensive showing from the Steelers that Caleb and the offense was able to overcome. So with that, they played a good defensive unit. We got the good Steelers playing the Bears last week, and they're playing another defensive unit. We're going to take the Bears to ride their momentum into Philadelphia. As far as I know, Ben Johnson didn't get tobacco spit on him. It was Dan Campbell. So he's going to go in there and show him what's up, and he's going to stay pristine. Bears keep the win streak going in Philly.
Yeah, Eagles are coming off that rinse of Dallas, like we talked about a little bit earlier, right? And the biggest issue is Saquon, of course. Trouble in paradise. But one thing I want to say to the Eagles fans is just shut the fuck up. You're 8-3. Stop crying. All these Eagles fans out there, it doesn't look the way we want it to. You just won the fucking Super Bowl and you're 8-3 and you're crying.
Yeah, spoiled.
Some of these fan bases are absolutely spoiled, and the Eagles are definitely one of them. But they really do need to get Saquon going. And the one concern, I guess, here is can the Bears stop Saquon? But everyone's been able to stop Saquon. So, is this a offensive coordinator issue, which it seems that the fans of Philadelphia think it is, and they missed the baby food eater, like we've kind of said a couple times on this show, right? AJ Brown gets his touchdown against Dallas, so the crying quiets a little bit there, and he doesn't take shots publicly at his quarterback for now. However, Bears are coming off a win against the Steelers, turning them over twice, and beating the refs in the process. Honestly, I was there the whole game, and it seemed like the refs took the Steelers spread because it was awful. Awful play calling. Not awful play calling. Awful officiating by the referees, giving them that fumble in the bottom of a pile where you have no visual. Did you see that play?
No, I was watching the Packers.
They give them a fumble at the logo that wasn't even a fumble. It's a I don't have to get into it too much, but the refs were against us. Kenneth Gainwell had a good game, which kind of leads to believe that Saquon maybe should. But the biggest thing to note for the Bears is they had 4 pass catchers with 50 yards on 3 receptions. So there's not one single person that you can lock down on this Bears offense. without other people getting involved. And you get Jalen Johnson back, the all-pro corner this week, and Kyler Gordon, the highest-paid nickel in football, will be back this week as well. And Eagles are on the down, and the Bears are on the up. So we're going to take the Bears this week on this Black Friday rinse on the Sunday script. But Nick, you're one win away from eating the script. Are you prepared to do so?
You know, as a Bears fan, I'm very pleasantly surprised on how their season turned out. I think that although the Bears have come a long way with Ben Johnson, you know, showing everyone the ropes and kind of getting the team back into ship shape, I don't think they deserved a lot of the wins they actually ended up getting. I mean, it seems like you flip a coin at the end of the game and all of a sudden the Bears call it as soon as it hits the ground and then they win the game. I mean, we saw it last week with the biggest sell probably in that week of football where they just kind of like klutz around and don't make a move. They go for a long throw with 3 seconds on the clock. I mean, it's ridiculous. The Bears aren't winning on skill these days, and I feel like that's very, very obvious, especially to the fans that are honest enough to admit it. As for the script, though, I mean, like I said, I'm pleasantly surprised. So, you know, if I'm eating the script at the end of the season, then I'll eat it with good spirits, because at least the Bears have won, whether it be through hook or by crook. Yeah,
too bad it won't be on Thanksgiving morning and they, you know, would win and then you would enjoy the script with your Thanksgiving dinner. That would have been a very fitting way to enjoy the script.
No, always saving it to the end. Come on, you got to save dessert until the game's over.
That's a great point, Nick, and some great insight from you as always. Thank you. But we're gonna move into Nick's second team, maybe his first team. I don't know at this point anymore. But the Saints are going into Hard Rock and taking the Dolphins. Dolphins here are -6. Saints are coming off a very disappointing loss to the Falcons. We took the Saints last week thinking that Kirk Cousins was going to rinse. He had an okay game, but the Falcons defense took advantage of the Saints turnovers and, Shuck with the disappointing game again. And then I don't get why the baby food eater puts, I can't think of his name right now. Taysom Hill, sorry. They put Taysom Hill at the goal line to throw a pass.
Do it all Swiss Army knife.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah.
The decoy. They put a decoy in there to throw the ball on the goal line. When you have Shuck, just see what you got in Shuck, man. Just keep him out there. I don't know why you got to put Taysom Hill in. That experiment's over. The Taysom Hill experiment has been over for some time now. But on the Dolphins side of things, they're coming off a bye, allowing them time to regroup. You know, Mike McDaniel's can take a week and smoke weed like he always does, and he can get his playbook in order and get the boys and rally the boys. And at 4-7, do the Dolphins have a chance? According to the stats, it's a .02 chance to make the playoffs, but they are not eliminated. Maybe it's because the Dolphins are just elite, right? They go and they win that international rinse against the Commanders. Expect a big game from Achane. Big game from Achane this week. Achane quietly has 900 yards on the season so far, which I guess if you weren't paying attention to football,
not that quietly. Sure,
casual. It doesn't help when they're 4-7 and rinsing like they were.
And he's kind of their whole coverage.
Yeah, he's kind of their whole offense
good though this
too.
season.
Yeah,
sorry.
he is. But with that, we're gonna rock with Simple Jack, and we're gonna take the Dolphins here. I don't simply trust the Saints to go into Miami and get a win. And Tua's having a better, recovery this year, and he hasn't gotten concussed. So we'll take the Dolphins this week on the Sunday script.
Yeah, we'll lock in the Dolphins at home at Hard Rock. They're giving Dolphins -6. I don't know how high-powered their offense is, but it looks like it's clicking a little bit again in the Mike McDaniel system. Achane's having a great season. Honestly, me personally, I think this is a big rinse game. I think, the Dolphins are still pretty bad. Sorry, Nick. And Bucket Shuck is not really doing them any favors. I think the Saints season really kind of took a turn for the worse when that QB controversy started. I thought they started off the season not really playing that bad with Spencer Rattler.
No, they didn't.
And now it's like they're back to the 0-17 Saints that we were talking about earlier for me. So we're going to lock in the Dolphins on that one. But Nick, the Dolphins are technically in the hunt. What do you think about their chances?
I mean, it's never right to hunt Dolphins, but the Dolphins are going to be out there doing their best and making games. What I'd like to see is Mike McDaniel's, put down the pipe and actually, run the plays and stop playing backyard football. I mean, the biggest problem I see right now is that there's just poor leadership all the way up. Hawk Tua slings. Everybody knows that the Dolphins have the ability to be a great and successful team, but it seems like they're limited by management, and I think that's the biggest detriment to their hunt.
That's a great point, Nick.
Elite.
We'll see. I mean, they're not out of it, so you got some hope left with your Dolphs. But hey, there's always a Super Bowl next year.
It's not hope. It's only faith. I know they'll do well.
If the Dolphins make the playoffs, I might eat a script. You know what? I'll say it right here. I'll say it right here on the Sunday script. If the Dolphins make the playoffs, I will eat a script. So I'll do you one better. How about that?
Oh,
I'll
man.
hold you to that.
Go Dolphs.
All
Go
right.
Dolphs.
There you go.
Week
All
13, 9 pages. That's a lot of script.
I know. This is a big script, too.
This episode of the Sunday Script is brought to you by Sentence Enhancers. Words are tools. Some cut deep and other build bridges. In this book, it'll help you recognize new words to use, as well as help you improve your communication both at work and in everyday life. Buy Sentence Enhancers now on Amazon.
Indianapolis Jones is taking on the Houston Texans. CJ Stroud is coming back. And finally, I get to talk about how fraudulent Indianapolis Jones is. He just does nothing at the end of the Chiefs game, 0-4 on turnovers, or on 3 and outs toward the end of the game. It's just ridiculous. The Daniel Jones experiment's over. And I think that now he's going to play the best defense in the league with the Houston Texans. Even if he's at home, they're going to shut down Jonathan Taylor. Daniel Jones isn't going to be able to do anything. And the Texans are going to go in and beat the Colts.
Yeah, this is probably a pretty popular pick from a lot of people in the sports betting universe this week. And, sometimes we'll fade the public, but we're not going to do that this week. The Texans have the best defense in football by a mile at this point. And Daniel Jones is folding like a lawn chair at this point. And this is
bad, dude.
And this is typical. It's Daniel Jones. There's a reason he moves from team to team. If he was good, he would have had a second contract on the Giants, right? But on the Texans side of things, Famous Davis is making some plays to keep the Texans in that Bills game, right? Of course, the defense is the story there. But he went 3-0 as a starter, Famous Davis did. So shout out to him for keeping the boat afloat in Houston. That's not
definitely.
a Hurricane Harvey reference, but CJ should be back after being in concussion protocol. It's not for certain. However, that doesn't really dictate our pick for this week, I think. I think this is more of a fact that the Texans' defense is fantastic.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones is folding under pressure. They went from 6-1 to now 8-4, I believe, right? So they are not having a fun time at the moment. They had the Chiefs, and they gave it up.
Yeah.
Jonathan Taylor will have a good game as always, but you're going to stop Daniel Jones and you'll win the game. And this is a huge divisional matchup, right?
Yeah.
This AFC South is getting very tight. Tighter than we thought it would be. I kind of thought maybe the Texans would run away with it at the beginning of the year just because the Jags are the Jags. And
Yeah,
the Colts,
and
the Colts were starting Daniel Jones, and the Titans are...
Yeah. But then the Colts started running away with it.
But then the Colts started running away
But
with
now
it.
they're rinsing.
And now they're rinsing. So
now this division's up in the air, yeah.
Jacksonville and Texans has to be licking their lips a little bit.
Yeah,
and
they
saying,
definitely are. They
this could
definitely
be our
are.
division take. But we're going to take the Houston Texans to go into Indianapolis, into Jim Irsay's house, and beat the Colts. But that's going to move us into an awful game. Falcons -2.5 versus the Jets. So they're going to make the Jets the home dogs here. And the Jets are coming off a QB change and a loss to the Ravens. But like I said earlier, that was a closer game than people expected. Don't look at the box score because
No.
if you'll be a victim of that for sure.
Definitely.
They allowed Derrick Henry to score twice, but that was all goal line scoring. So not really a great game from Lamar. Like I stated earlier, the Falcons are coming off that win against the Saints where their defense showed up. We never know which Falcons defense we're going to get any given week, and it's the reason they're 4-7. Their coaching sucks, and Kirk Cousins is still not good. I mean, there's a reason he was backing up Penix, and Penix sucks, right? So that's not a good sign for the Falcons, and based off the pattern the Falcons have shown us and the fact that they're a very undisciplined, poorly coached team, we're going to take Aaron Glenn and the Jets to win in Metcalf this week on Scriptgiving and just give them another win. And this will probably be the last one of the year, I think. But I think
Maybe.
Aaron Glenn gets another win, and he still might get fired, actually. But that will be a discussion for later in the season. But we're going to take the Jets.
Yeah.
Win against the
Yeah.
Falcons this week on the Sunday Script.
Just end the season, as they say, but their season isn't
Yeah.
over yet. Like Tim was saying, maybe next week we'll call it a season on the Jets.
Yeah.
But we're thinking they're gonna win. The Falcons are all over the place this year. Penix is out, and Penix isn't the best, but he's better than Kirk. I mean, Kirk's all right. He's putting it together with a little more
tough.
practice, but I don't really love Kirk taking snaps. The Jets, though, they're playing for pride. They gotta show up for all 7 fans that are gonna be at that game because they're really losing their fan base. They're so poverty. They're gonna get it done in New Jersey, and part of that is gonna be because they're not playing Justin Fields anymore. Tyrod is a much better quarterback.
Tyrod.
Whatever his name is. I've been a big fan for a while, as I said last week. He almost led them to a win over the Ravens, so we're going to lock them in this week. Go Jets. With that, we're moving into Believeland, taking on San Francisco. Is San Francisco fool's gold? I think so. I think Brock Purdy's still a little bit injured, didn't have as much zing on the ball, not planting off his turf toe. So... underthrew a lot of those interceptions, dude. Bad underthrows. That's why I say that. And they were bad picks. It's like maybe they should have kept McCorkle. He was balling all right. They're 7-4, 7-3 for sure. Without him.
Yeah.
But they're taking on the Browns at home. And speaking of the Browns, with Brock throwing all those picks, and then Myles Garrett coming around the edge, I'm worried for the San Francisco offense against the Browns defense at home. I'm just going to flat out say it. I think that the Browns defense is an elite unit. Myles Garrett is playing out of his mind. He's got leads the league in sacks by far. And they got a little more energy, it seems like, with Shedeur playing, even though he had a bad game. They're just going to show you the one 50-yard bomb that he completed, not all the rinsing. But it's expected for a rookie. I think it's gonna be like a kind of like the Jackson Dart thing where they put the rookie in, the young kid gives them a little boost for a couple games, and they're gonna knock off the 49ers at home.
Yeah. So this is the Niners, of course, going into Cleveland. It's a far little trip for them, right? But Niners coming off that win against the Panthers, but don't look at that box score either.
No.
A lot of, if you do a lot of box score watching, that'll eat you up in the NFL.
Yeah, those are
the
rinse
gambling
games.
world. Sock Dirty was throwing picks on picks on picks against a fraudulent Panthers defense, right? And the 49ers defense didn't have to do much considering Bryce Young was just his inconsistent garden gnome self that he usually is, especially on the road too. And
he was hurt too.
Yeah. And CMC has a great game, but the Niners might be becoming too one-dimensional if Brock Sock Dirty can't throw off that little bitty toe of his that he had to get. Did he get surgery on it? I don't think so.
I don't think so.
I don't think he did. But, us picking the Browns has nothing to do with Shedeur. Shedeur is a much better upgrade than, the wannabe garden gnome, Dylan Gabriel, right? Myles Garrett is tearing things up right now and will probably break the sack record at 30 years old. And it's like we say, it's a shame. He wanted out in the beginning of the year in the offseason, and he stayed in Cleveland. Congrats to you, got your bag. And you're definitely worth the money. But we'll never see him on another team. And
we're not going to see him on a good team. And what he could do on a good team.
Unless Shedeur next year, steps it up. But we doubt it. Browns defense is elite at home. Absolutely elite. Fantastic. It's not just Myles Garrett, too. It's that whole defensive unit. Having the sack leader helps for sure. But this definitely turns into a trap game for the Niners this week. I think the Browns are, 3-8 team now, but they are not in that lower echelon of dog shit with the Raiders, Titans, and so on. Saints, they're better than the Saints, I think, too. Mm-hmm. They have too much talent on their team. They just haven't had any good quarterback play since Baker, and that was their damn fault. So we're going to take the Cleveland Browns, but also fuck LeBron. Nick, this is a question for you here. So, there's an extra game now past couple of years, right? So that means the records are kind of swayed a little bit because you get an extra game to beat some records. So, should these records even count considering there is an extra game every year?
Well, something I know about the NFL very well is they really like to pat themselves on the back. I mean, you see it the most when Tom Brady's announcing a game. But when it comes down to this extra game, I think they're just trying to inflate the stats or try to make the players nowadays rank up with the kind of the greats of the past. I mean, we had outstanding players from yesteryear just kind of slinging the ball, showing them that they were superior. And nowadays, I feel like we're getting very poor quality from these kids that come out of college and, they expect a bag, but they don't want to work for it. They kind of just expect it dropped on their lap. So I think that it'll help kind of have them compare to the greats of yesteryear. But at the end of the day, I mean, you're just kind of changing the statistic to make them all work. So.
Yeah, it's definitely inflated for sure, and maybe the NFL needs to look at putting an asterisk by those, right, and say this was a 17-game season, this was a 16-game season,
or just like put their averages, or
right? Put their averages instead, because that does make a huge difference, right?
Yeah, and if they got rid of I'd say probably 70% of the statistics and just really focused on the important ones, sacks, reception yards, and things like that, I think then I'd be okay with ranking them up, but they make a stat out of it.
Yeah, the stat heads definitely get involved for sure.
This episode of the Sunday Script is brought to you by Woodman's Property Management. Are you looking for some place to live? Do you want to live in the Midwest? Are you looking for something luxurious while still being affordable? Then Woodman's has the property for you. Go ahead online or down in the link below and check out Woodman's Property Management for all your rental needs.
But that'll take us into Rams minus 10.5 versus the Panthers, and Rams are looking to be the Super Bowl champions once again. It's seemingly coming down to that. There was a lot of discussion at the beginning of the year, or not the beginning of the year, I mean like the middle of the year. Who's going to really separate themselves? Is anyone good? Is anyone going to separate themselves? But it always works itself out. It really does. There's always 2 or 3 teams that are just dominant at the end of the year and the clear-cut contenders, and the Rams are finally, becoming that team. Elite defense. Elite defense, 2 number ones at receiver, not to mention the MVP at quarterback at 37 years old.
Yeah.
Who would be the second oldest MVP to win, in the NFL. But the dude that won it before was in the 40s or something. So we'll give all the credit to StatPad for there. Devontae with another great game, giving Nick some hope for his fantasy team for sure. I know that put a smile on Nick's face. And it helped that Baker got hurt, of course, but the Rams probably would have ran away with that game regardless of who was at quarterback for the Bucs. The Bucs are on the real decline right now. Panthers, on the other hand, are coming off a rinse to the Niners. We see it every other week with them. Can't trust the Panthers at all. That was never going to be a win for Carolina. I'm a big believer in the cross-country trip, and that's a haul from Charlotte to Santa Clara, right? Mm-hmm. But now you take that and you flip it. Rams are going all the way to Carolina. However, the Rams are just too inconsistent. Not the Rams. The Panthers are just too inconsistent, and Bryce has become his true self, and Rico Story has really fallen off a cliff. Rico Story has really not been playing as well as, when he took half Chubb Hubbard's spot. Mm-hmm. And not to mention they're getting to the point where, they're punching players in the nuts now.
Yeah.
So they're getting to that point in the season, and really shows what kind of, franchise Dave Canales is running there if you're letting your players punch people in the nuts. Such a cheap shot. And shout out to Juwan Jennings. I hope your infertility wasn't affected by that. But we're going to take the Los Angeles Rams to go into Carolina and make it Rams house in Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte.
Yep. It's kind of a no-brainer to take the Rams. The Rams have really separated themselves versus, maybe 1 or 2 other teams. But the Rams are clearly the front runner in the league right now.
Yeah.
They're pretty healthy. Their defense is playing well. There's no reason that they shouldn't win the rest of their games at this rate, not to say that there couldn't be a decline, but they were putting the beat down on the Bucs, who were allegedly a good team, for a while Baker was playing. That game was sloppy quick for the Bucs. Don't look at the box score on that one. The Panthers, on the other hand, Bryce Young, Garden Gnome 2.0, just it continues to rinse, he throws 500 yards one week and then rinses the next week, 2 picks. It's like he's hurt, but I feel like it's Dave Canales trying to what's it called? Trying to put Bryce Young into more uncomfortable situations and get him to throw the ball more, because he knows that they're not really a super competitive team, because they only handed the ball off to Rico Dowdle 6 times last week. Yeah. And it's if you really wanted to win games, you would give touches to the guy that was 200 plus scrimmage yards every week.
Yeah, I agree.
And then you give him the ball 6 times. The same thing Atlanta was doing with Bijan. It's why are you throwing the ball all the time when you got the, Bijan who's going to give you 150 rushing yards? Anyway, doesn't make any sense to me. Give me the Rams in this one. The Panthers are, they're all right.
Yeah, but without Kyler Murray, Bryce Young is just the Garden Gnome now.
He is.
He's not Garden Gnome 2.0. He's just the Garden Gnome. So shout out Bryce Young for being the Garden Gnome here on the Sunday Script.
His job. And then side bet for you is Trayvon Moehrig gonna punch someone else in the balls. The
Hopefully
over
not
under
stat.
on that.
Hopefully not stat.
drop some odds for that in the comment. Hopefully,
and Puka
it's not.
Nacua has been punching the balls too many times this year. And if you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about.
Oh yeah. Well, anyway, we're gonna have Duval going to Tennessee to take on the 1-10 Titans. It's just like, God, guys, it's just like, who cares about the Titans anymore? They have set everyone up around them for failure. I watched a little bit of the Titans game last week just to see what the dumpster fire was. Cam Ward's showing some flashes. He is. But it's not going to get it done. It's not enough. Too much for a rookie QB. On the other hand, Jags are still playing good defense, as we've been saying all season. They need a divisional win because we were talking about that AFC South is getting up in the air,
for sure.
Especially with the Colts sliding now. So big divisional game, and it's kind of a gimme in this division. So they can't take it lightly. They can't be like, oh, we're going to go in and beat the Titans, because they'll play to the end, and you saw what happened to the Cardinals. So think about that.
Oh, we saw what happened to the Cardinals. Yeah. That was
You saw what happened to the Cardinals. So, as long as we don't get a T-Law rinse, defense should be able to hold up against the Titans, and we're going to lock in the Jags on the road.
Yeah, Jags are coming off a close one to the Cardinals in the red zone. Trevor had a much better game, finding the end zone 3 times, but he still finds a way to turn the ball over.
Always.
That team in general, the Cardinals had in that game a +4 turnover differential, and they still lost, showing that the Jags maybe lucked out in the win there on the road, but you'll take a road win no matter what. You don't apologize for wins in the NFL. The Jags are just better coached this year. I think that's really what it comes down to. Liam Cohen's doing a good job with them and Duval. And they just luck out here and getting the Titans. They luck out and be in that division with the Titans. And, we were leaning Titans as maybe a sleeper this week. We were, but we just can't.
I wasn't. I was just kidding.
We just can't pick them to rinse the script this week because this week's a lock, and we don't need the Titans to rinse it. However, we don't trust the Jags either. So this could be a Jags Moneyline win for sure, but Titans could cover. They could cover 6.5, maybe make it a 6-point loss here. But we're going to take the Jags to win their divisional matchup. That's going to take us into Cardinals versus Bucks. If this would have been earlier in the year, this spread would have been much larger. Bucks -3 at home. So they're just giving them that home pick 'em kind of, right?
Yeah.
Biggest story here is, of course, no Baker, it seems, and we'll get Teddy Two Gloves, and shout out Teddy Two Gloves for almost having his leg amputated from a non-contact injury, and when he was on Minnesota, just dropping,
I remember that.
Just dropping back to make a pass, and his leg basically fell apart. So, but shout out to him for coming back and making another resurgence.
Yeah.
I didn't know he was in the league until he came into that game. I thought he was out of it, but.
He took some time out of the league.
He was out. He was coaching high school football or something.
Yeah.
The Bucks have been really disappointing for the past couple of months, and I touted them as the best team in the NFC in the beginning of the year, and I wasn't wrong in doing that at the time. But the question going forward is, can the Bucks keep their top spot in the South? The problem is they don't really have anyone nipping at their heels that's really a contender or anyone good enough to do so. You got the Falcons who fucking suck, the Panthers rinse, and the Saints are the fucking Saints. I know that wasn't very poetic, but it's just the way it is, And Cardinals are coming off an OT rinse to the Jags, and they win the turnover battle, like I said, +4, and still lose. However, without Baker, we finally see a one-score game going in the direction of Jacobo and the Cardinals. We know Nick's very high on Jacobo.
He's the new Brady. Honestly, he's calm and collected. And that's what I want to see more of across all the quarterbacks in the league.
And you weren't here last week. We said it. You called it on that, completion record for Jacoby. Tom Brady never had 47 completions, so suck on that, Tom. But we're going to take the Arizona Cardinals in the red zone to get a win. Oh, sorry, not in the red zone. They're not in the red zone. My bad. They should be. They always should be in the red zone because it's the fucking red zone.
Pirate zone.
Yeah, the pirate zone, I guess. But we're gonna take the Cardinals to go into Tampa and beat the Bucks.
Yeah, they're gonna beat the Bucks. I don't trust Teddy Two Gloves. He came in for Baker, was below average backup quarterback play from what I would say. As expected, you get tossed in the third or fourth quarter off the bench, and it is what it is. Baker, they're saying he's not ruled out. He's not gonna play, guys. I'd be surprised unless he wants to Carson Wentz it and then get surgery after
and cry.
And cry and get surgery ending his season. Jacobo, he's just got better command of his offense, I think, than Teddy Bridgewater. Teddy Bridgewater hasn't gotten a lot of starts with the ones. He's, played a little bit in the full game that was already lost. He's not going to play, he hasn't played kickoff to kickoff like Jacoby has been for a few weeks now. So I'm just going to trust them to put up more points than the Bucks on offense, and their Cardinals defense really isn't that bad. So we'll take them against the backup QB. Jacoby to score some touchdowns. Maybe he'll set another NFL record. Who knows? With that, we are going to move into Seattle. Seattle's turning out right behind the Rams to be one of the best teams in the NFL. They're taking on Sam Darnold's old team. He's going to see his buddy Cock. It's a Sam Darnold revenge game. Minnesota's coming to town. JJ McCarthy, speaking of quarterbacks, he's in concussion protocol. Don't know if he's going to play, but you know what that means. We're getting a
the horn ready. Yeah.
We're going to get the old Max Brosmer masterclass. Let's go. I was calling for it when Carson Wentz was sobbing. I was like, put Max Brosmer in, see what he can do. Yeah, see what Max Brosmer can do. So hopefully we see that. And here's a side bet for you. I bet he plays better than JJ. I would fucking bet the house on that.
I mean, that's a 1-inch hurdle to jump over, but that's fine.
Exactly, because JJ's terrible. So the Vikings are getting an upgrade at quarterback as far as I'm concerned. Go look at Max Brosmer's Minnesota highlights and get back to me. Expect the Seahawks beat down, though, honestly, because all jokes aside, Max Brosmer is coming into a new offense. I don't know if they're going to be clicking. They haven't all season. And then, like I was saying last week, Legion of Boom's back. So, good luck scoring points on them. And Darnold's going to want to stick it to Cock and score a bunch of points for on offense. He's probably going to throw like 4 touchdowns. So, locking the Seahawks at home.
Yeah, JJ's an absolute disaster for the Vikings, and they're, putting up his stats, and they show that he's last in every category, right? So, you have the Packers-Viking game on, and they're just shitting on the kid on the broadcast, right?
But
that's his fault.
That is his fault.
That's his fault, and the Vikings made a mistake in drafting him. And if Cock can't fix JJ, then he is doomed, and the Vikings are doomed. He doesn't even seem to be a backup anymore. I'd rather have Justin Fields. I'd rather have Justin Fields because at least you can just run the ball with Justin Fields and just run him into the ground, and if he gets hurt, he gets hurt, right? But honestly, good. Like, fuck the Vikings, fuck JJ. Like, he's a spoiled little brat, and fuck Nazareth, too. I'm kind of happy this is the way this has turned out for the Vikings. You shouldn't have gotten rid of Darnold. Of course, that's the conversation that's going to be had the rest of the year. But on the other side of the field, where Sam Darnold is playing, Seahawks are coming off, not covering the spread against the Titans, right? But they still pooped on them.
Yeah,
they still didn't cover that 13.5, which we never would take that.
No, that's a ridiculous
rinse. That's a rinse. Those points are a rinse. And JSN might break the record for most receiving yards in the season, and that brings us back to our conversation we had with Nick about the games and the extra game and the records, right? But, I mean, their defense is legit, and if the Bears and Packers are picking you off twice, then watch out.
Yeah.
Watch out, because Seattle might have 4 turnovers. If JJ plays, we don't think he's going to. So we are probably just going to see, like Carm said, the Max Brosmer masterclass, the boy from Minnesota who went to Minnesota and will be playing for Minnesota. So another chip on his shoulder, unpaid. Got something to prove, put some tape out there for people to see, and maybe Cock will like it. And maybe Brosmer likes Cock. So we're going to take the Seattle Seahawks at home this week on the Sunday Script. That's going to take us into Bills, our favorites, going into Acrisure Stadium in Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. And the Bills are coming off the TNR. And do the Bills have a Josh Allen problem?
No.
Or do they have a Josh Allen is the only way to fix our problems? I think the latter is probably the truth there, right? They rely on him way too much, it seems, but that's a roster construction issue. That's not Josh Allen's fault. And there's not a complete unit, and they lack a number 1 wide receiver. So maybe Jefferson?
Maybe
Kryreek?
Oh, not Kryreek.
Maybe Kryreek. Maybe we'll see Kryreek up in Buffalo, a contrast in weather for him for sure, but he'll adjust. He played in Kansas City, so they only, stay in that game also from that miracle 4th and 16 hook and ladder, which was a great design, great play call, and great execution there. However, they get to go play a Mason Rudolph-led Steelers team. They're gonna, throw smokescreen. Tomlin is again this week. And what he did last week was honestly ridiculous. Aaron was never going to play that game. It was all just Aaron, being, cocky guy he usually is, which is fine. And, I'm going to play. I'll beat the Bears. I'm going to play. I want to play. It's the Bears. And then flipping off cameramen who, have nothing to do with it, going out there, flipping them off when he's not even in uniform. I don't know what the point of that is.
Who
right?
knows?
But, Aaron's not going to play. We're going to see Mason Rudolph for a couple more weeks here, and that means the Steelers' decline is imminent for sure. They struggled to move the ball downfield with Mason Rudolph throwing the football against the Bears. They ran it well, but I don't even expect that to continue. And we're going to take the Bills this week on the Sunday Script to go into Ackershire and catch a win in Pittsburgh. But Nick, Aaron was talking all that good. Did he dodge the smoke against the Bears because he knew he was going to just catch that L?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, he showed up at the at Soldiers Field like a puppy dog with his tail between his legs, just trying to avoid everything. And when his team was doing well, you could see him jumping around like he was in the game, but he wasn't. He was just chilling on the sideline. I think based on how he was in the past, when he was on the Packers, he was a very good quarterback, and he's just starting to see that he wasn't the really good player. It was just the Packers team was much better, and he came to Chicago and hid from the cameras until his team was doing good and still lost, which I think just goes to show that Aaron's old, washed, and nobody wants him anymore. Keep him on the sideline.
Yeah, and that brings us into the Vikings. I got 2 points on Aaron real quick. Vikings quarterback next year, Aaron Rodgers. You heard it here first on the Sunday Script. Also, there was a play there. It was 2nd and 6 on the last drive of the game for Pittsburgh where they were in illegal formation.
Yeah.
And what happened was Mason Rudolph ran the ball for 20 yards up the middle, but it got brought back because of an illegal formation.
Yeah.
And they have a clip of it. Aaron's on the sideline like, no, illegal formation. But then they still ran the play. So Aaron is definitely better than Mason Rudolph. I don't understand where people are.
Kidding.
No, I don't understand where people come up with this.
What?
Mason Rudolph is not that much. No, that's a narrative that people are saying that Mason Rudolph is not much of a decline from Aaron Rodgers production wise, but that's
God,
that's not the case.
Who the hell is saying that?
Trust me, not
That's
us,
ridiculous.
just the mainstream media,
Mason
which we are not.
Rudolph.
But that's going to bring us into an AFC West matchup. The Raiders, Titans or Raiders? Same team at this point, taking on the Chargers. Raiders are awful. It's sad to really see. We're big Geno fans.
Yeah.
Last year we were screaming GS.
Yeah.
But it's been a lot of Geno recently, and Pete Carroll's gone after this year. Geno's gone, and that leaves Ashton Genty to just sit there and twiddle his thumbs in hopes that Tom Brady saves the Raiders franchise as a partial owner, right? But Nick's shaking his head. He doesn't think he will. But
no, it's not going to happen. Brady's too busy focused on himself than actually making sure the Raiders are good.
I agree.
He just wants people to show up to the game so he can line his pockets after his wife took half of what he got.
Oh, jeez. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah,
That's
really, the only
true.
person to blame is Tom Brady for this colossal shit season. And they also gave up 10 sacks at the Browns. So, Chargers should win this divisional game easily, just based off the better talent and better quarterback play, and especially coming off a bye. Their tackles are still hurt, but. That Max Crosby could have a great game, and we're having the same discussion with Max Crosby as you are with Myles Garrett, right? It's a shame. It's a shame he's on the Raiders, but we're going to take the Chargers this week for sure.
Yeah, Chargers are going to be getting one tackle back, possibly on the right side. Joe Alt's still out. But, their fill-in has been getting some more reps. He had the bye week to really study and everything. So you'll probably get a little bit better offensive line play. I'd be watching out a little bit for Max Crosby on some fresh tackles. Obviously, he's a really good player off the edge. But, the Raiders are a complete dumpster fire. They just fired Chip Kelly, which the only surprise in that is that it took this long because their offense is like, what are you doing all season? They don't know if they want to run. They don't know if they want to pass. And Pete Carroll, on that regard, is probably gone too. Like Tim was saying, I think he's old and washed, and his scheme doesn't work anymore.
Yeah.
And you talk about players getting old and washed and messed up due to injuries, but Pete Carroll's 70-something years old, dude. He's up there, and I don't think he has the juice anymore. I think the Raiders need a full coaching overhaul.
Yeah.
And really, set up their young players like Brock Bowers, Genty for success, and maybe get a swap at quarterback. Geno should just retire. And it's time for him to hang it up as well. All that to say, we're going to lock in the Chargers at home, and that will bring us all the way to Washington, D.C. to see the Commanders 3-8 take on the Broncos. Some, fortunate news for the Commanders. Jaden Daniels was back at practice this week. That being said, he's very unlikely that he's going to play. Got a pretty nasty injury. So Marcus Mariota is still going to be steering the helm as far as we know. But the Broncos defense is going to feast. I don't think that the Commanders have enough talent. Scary Terry, Jakrowski Merritt. Like, that's not the type of talent that's just going to sheer talent overcome the Broncos defense.
I agree.
Especially now with Mariota throwing the ball. He's serviceable. He can win you some games. He's not going to win you a game against the top AFC teams. So we're going to lock in the Broncos. Despite us not being believers, the defense is going to be too much for the Commanders. They'll put up a couple touchdowns and fly back home. Yeah,
the schedule makers, when this was made, they probably thought this would be a much better matchup, right? Especially with the Commanders and them making the NFC Championship game last year. But Commanders are the same old story right now, rinsing in the international rinse, and they cut Matt Gay because he didn't hit that kick, which would have been great for us because we would have locked that, and that would have been an international dub for us, which was rare this year. So we're glad those are over as well. But with no Jaden, there's no hope to be found. And honestly, Commanders can suck it, honestly. All the Commanders fans can suck it. You're 3-8. You're talking all that shit after the Hail Mary last year. And now you're on the reverse side of that. And now your quarterback is just RG3 in disguise, always hurt. You shouldn't even play him for the rest of the year. And Caleb is definitely better than Jaden. So, like I said, Commanders fans, you can suck it.
Wow.
Broncos defense should have their way with Marcus. And the offense should have no issue scoring against this turnstile senior home that is the Washington Commanders defense. FedEx is a huge toilet bowl, and the poop leaks from the ceiling there. So we're going to take the Denver Broncos to win on Sunday Night Football this week on the Sunday Script. But that's going to bring us into the Monday night finisher. Patriots get another 2-win team to play. Congrats. How many 2-win teams have you played this year, Patriots? Patriots minus 7.5 on Monday night. Massive easy opponent for the Patriots, and Drake May can get glazed all over again, which is great for him and keep him in the MVP conversation. He didn't play well against the worst defense in football, though, so a little bit of a concern, and that's where that dip in the MVP conversation comes from and really propels Stat Patford in that conversation. Giants are coming off almost beating the Lions, and the Jameis show, man. I mean, it's a spectacle. It is. From pregame to halftime to postgame, you want to hear what he has to say. You want to hear how he's hyping up the team in the huddle, and you want to see him make those fantastic plays. Catching a ball and shaking that defender and scoring in the end zone. They put it on. They put it on in the at the game. They put that highlight on.
Yeah.
And I was with a Scriptie at the game, and the whole stadium's going nuts for Jameis.
Yeah, dude.
The whole stadium was going nuts for Jameis on that touchdown he caught, and then goes in.
Nick and I, it was Nick's birthday, so happy birthday, Nick.
Yes.
Yeah, we were watching the game on his birthday, and I was like, oh shit, look, Jameis, dude, their running back steps up in the pocket like a pro, drops a back shoulder, and then Jameis just big body. Sorry, that was one of the best plays of the year, though.
Fantastic, and Jameis is fantastic. On the other side of this, though, we don't know if Fart's going to play coming off that concussion. If they got to start Jameis, they got to start Jameis. It is what it is. They're not going to win regardless. However, starting to think that the Giants, they lose all these games that they're leading in. They're kind of just last year's Bears, it seems like, right?
Yeah.
Young second-year quarterback, fire their head coach midway through the year. A good defense. They don't have a bad defense in New York. They have talented players.
Though.
They have talented players. They drafted Abdul Carter, number 3. They drafted Kayvon Thibodeau, number 7, a couple years back. They got Brian Burns in the middle, or on the edge, that was leading the league in sacks at one point. So they have players for sure. It's just going to be... And then, Malik Neighbors got hurt, too, which was a rinse. And Scat got hurt.
Yeah.
So if they get the right head coach, I'm hearing Lane Kiffin, that would be a rinse. But if they get the right head coach, the Giants can really turn it around next season and sleeper dark horse to win the... NFC East next year are the New York Giants. But for this year, they're done and they're in the dirt. We're going to take the Patriots on the Monday night finisher this week.
Yeah, it's kind of obvious. The Giants are kind of too banged up. Patriots, got to take them. They beat the 2-8 teams, 2-10 teams. They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
They'll take them on at home.
Now.
Yeah, they got experience. So they'll probably put the Giants away at home. Dart is possible to return versus the Patriots, but my thinking is why rush them back? Jameis is holding down the fort. They're not playing that bad with Jameis. Keep your star to the side until he can come back with Malik Neighbors. Scatterbo coming back, and maybe some new draft picks because you're not going to win a whole lot.
No, because you're going to have a high draft pick as well.
Yeah, because you're going to have a high draft pick. So, the Patriots are still good. They're going to be in command of the AFC. Drake May didn't play the best, but we saw Sam Darnold throw 4 interceptions against the Rams, and no one really stopped glazing him. So we can keep glazing Drake May a little bit. I think one-off game doesn't deter you. Lock in the Patriots at Foxborough. Giants will be a sleeper team next year for sure. I think they got some young talent that'll develop.
Yeah, we'll see. But that is your 16-leg Moneyline parlay this Thanksgiving week on the Sunday Script. First time we've had a 16-legger in some time. A full slate.
No buys.
Full food, full tummy, and full slate of NFL football. This week will really be an interesting one. A lot of playoff implications on the line, right? And maybe some of our takes will include that. I know our takes have been interesting all year, but we'll get into our Week 13 takes right now here on the Sunday Script. And my Week 13 take here on the Sunday Script is that this is Mike Tomlin's last year as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers. I was sitting next to a Steelers fan at the game, and I was talking to him. I was like, you guys were better off just being bad for a couple years and then, getting rid of Tomlin, being bad for a couple years, and then getting your quarterback, right? Because now you're in quarterback limbo. And he goes, what do you mean? We were bad for the past 2 years. No, you weren't. You guys have made the playoffs the past 2 years. You were not like you're above 500. That's not bad. Another spoiled fan base crying about not winning the Super Bowl, which is ridiculous, which is a side tangent. But I was calling for Mike Tomlin's job last year when they did a mediocre job at the Justin Fields thing, as well as the Russell Wilson thing, having 10 wins at some point in the year and then rinsing the last 6 losses, making the playoffs, but still sucking. It's time for a change in Pittsburgh. Sometimes stuff gets stale, things get old, and who's going to be their quarterback next year? Are they bringing back Aaron Rodgers? What does that win them? 10 games, 9 games again, and then they're in the same spot. So I think the Pittsburgh Steelers need to officially pick a lane because for too long they've been mediocre, which gets them 20 overall picks in the first round, and you're not going to get the quarterback talent you need to really revitalize that franchise like they were when Big Ben was throwing around the rock and winning Super Bowls for them. So that's my take. Mike Tomlin should be done as the Steelers head coach after this year.
So some of you may remember a few years back when they started banning dancing and stuff in the end zone, and everyone was calling it the NFL, the No Fun League. I think that some of the no fun leagues should be brought back, and I'm speaking specifically to the uniform conduct. I'm getting really sick and tired of players, enhancing their uniform and trying to pop out as an individual. You got people with their back plates sticking out like it's high school and college football, their jerseys rolled up. Maybe they have, that guy on the Saints with the pattern sleeves, or, Brian Branch has his mouthpiece sticking out of his helmet. And they need to start seriously penalizing these players for these ridiculous actions with their uniforms. I always say it. You're a professional. You need to act like it. I'm sick of, you playing dress up, with your fun ski masks and fucking $1 million gold chains on. It's ridiculous. It's not a fashion show. It's a football game. Start fining them. Stop the nonsense. Put some uniforms back together in the NFL.
You're not walking the runway. You're running the field.
That's what Nick always says.
And my take this week is that they need to allow SIGs in stadiums. I think this is probably the most anticipated take there is, because who doesn't want to enjoy a nice crispy square while they watch the game? I mean, they leave it up to all the people with their vapes. They hit them quietly in the crowds, but just let a man have a cigarette. I mean, is it really that big of a deal? I remember it was when I walked through when I was playing at Soldiers Field. And after we took the team photo, we had some free time to kind of explore a certain area. But I went off to go find an area to go have a cigarette. And you know what I found? I found good friends by a pillar, all huddled together because it was cold. And we had a cigarette, and it was really nice. So I think they should embolden the people. I mean, if they're going to advertise gambling, might as well let them smoke at the field on the stadium premises. So that's my take this week, and I know everyone will.
All right, and we will get into the Week 13 rundown here on the Sunday Script. Happy Scriptgiving to everyone, and we'll be thankful for this guaranteed lock. Turkey Day rinse. Packers, Lions, we're going to take Green Bay to win in Detroit. Cowboys, Chiefs, we're going to ride with the Cowgirls and Jura in Arrowhead. Bengals, Ravens, we're going to continue to rock with the flock, and we're going to take the Ravens this week. Bears, Eagles, we're going to take the Bears to win on the Black Friday rinse. Saints, Dolphins, Dolphs are elite. We're going to take the Dolphins this week. Texans, Colts, AFC South matchup. Give us the horns. We're going to take the Texans this week on the Sunday Script. Not our Colts, fuck them. Falcons, Jets. We're going to take the Jets. Jets. Win this week. Niners, Browns. Give us Myles Garrett, Shedeur, and the Browns at home this week in Week 13. Rams, Panthers. We're going to take the Super Bowl favorite Rams to beat Little Garden Gnome Bryce Young in Charlotte. Jags, Titans. What are we talking about here? Take the Jags. I mean, Titans suck. Cardinals, Bucks. We're going to take Jacobo and the Arizona Cardinals to win a close scoring game and finally win one of those this year. Vikings, Seahawks. Give us the Sam Darnold revenge game. We're going to take the Seattle Seahawks this week. Bills, Steelers. Josh Allen and the Bills get back on track. We're going to take the Buffalo Bills to go into Ackshire and win. Raiders, Chargers. Give us the team with the better head coach and the better quarterback. We're going to take the Los Angeles Chargers this week. Broncos, Commanders. We're going to take the AFC's #1 team at the moment. We're going to take the Denver Broncos on Sunday Night Football. And for the Monday night finisher, we're going to take the New England Patriots on the Sunday Scripts. And that is your Week 13 rundown here. We hope to see you next week where you will be significantly richer. And so will we. We'll see you next week on the Sunday Script.